Imagine waking up in the morning, feeling your mind clear and sharp, ready to take on the day with unstoppable energy. Imagine a life where distractions no longer control you, where social media, notifications, emails, and endless messages do not pull your attention away from what really matters. Imagine being able to sit down and work on a task, whether it is writing a report, learning a new skill, or practicing your passion, and feeling completely absorbed in the moment, fully present, fully engaged. This is the power of focus, and it is the one skill that can transform your life faster than any other skill you can learn. Focus is not about working harder, it is about working smarter. It is not about forcing yourself to grind for hours without rest. It is about learning to direct your mental energy toward the things that truly move the needle in your life. The human brain is an incredible organ, capable of extraordinary feats, but it is also easily distracted by the constant stimuli of modern life. Notifications, news feeds, entertainment, and even our own wandering thoughts compete for our attention. If you do not learn to hack your brain to focus, your life will be guided by whatever screams the loudest for your attention. And most of the time, those things will not matter. This book is not about empty motivation or unrealistic promises. It is grounded in reality, based on neuroscience, psychology, and the experiences of people who have mastered their attention and achieved incredible results. You will learn practical strategies that you can implement immediately and see results. You will understand how your brain works, why it gets distracted, and how to train it to concentrate on what is important. You will discover techniques used by top performers, from athletes to entrepreneurs to scientists, to maintain intense focus even under pressure. We will explore the science behind attention and mental energy, how nutrition, sleep, and exercise influence your ability to concentrate, and why your environment has a bigger impact on your focus than you may realize. You will learn how to use habits, routines, and mental hacks to program your brain for attention, and how to overcome the mental fatigue and distractions that sabotage your productivity. You will see that focus is not something you are born with, it is something you build, and anyone can improve it with the right tools and consistent practice. Throughout this journey, you will find stories of real people who transformed their lives by mastering focus. People who went from procrastination and distraction to creating amazing works and achieving goals they once thought impossible. People who discovered that small intentional changes in how they approach tasks and attention could unlock a level of productivity and clarity they never imagined possible. By the end of this book, you will understand that focus is not a rare talent. It is a skill, it is a superpower, and it is accessible to anyone willing to commit to training their mind. You will have the knowledge, the techniques, and the motivation to hack your brain and improve your focus instantly. You will be equipped to take control of your attention and direct it toward the life you truly want to live. A life of clarity, productivity, and fulfillment begins with one simple choice to focus. Chapter 1. The power of focus. Focus is the single most valuable skill you can develop in life. It is the invisible engine that powers achievement and success. It is what allows an ordinary person to accomplish extraordinary things without working harder, but by directing attention deliberately toward what matters most. Imagine for a moment the difference between a mind that drifts like a leaf in the wind and a mind that is laser sharp, like a magnifying glass focusing sunlight to ignite a fire. The first is reactive. The second is proactive. The first is pulled by every distraction. The second pulls toward its goals with unstoppable energy. Focus is what separates people who dream from people who accomplish. People who wish for change from those who make it happen. Athletes demonstrate it in every training session. LeBron James practices free throws for hours, even after he had the level of excellence that most can only dream of. He relies on deliberate practice and total attention to the task at hand. In that moment, every muscle, every neuron, every thought is devoted to achieving one outcome: perfection through repetition and awareness. The first step to hacking your brain for focus is understanding that focus is not a switch that you can turn on at will. It is a skill. It is a muscle, and like any muscle, it needs to be trained. It is strengthened every time you resist distraction and concentrate fully on a task. Even small efforts matter. A student who sets aside 1 hour to study without checking their phone trains their brain to resist impulses. The next session becomes slightly easier, and over weeks the brain adapts to sustained attention. Your environment plays a larger role than most people realize. It is impossible to concentrate fully in a room cluttered with noise, notifications, and unorganized tasks. The brain unconsciously responds to these signals and divides its attention. The first hack is not complicated. It is about creating space for focus. A quiet room, a clean desk, and a clear plan signal to your brain that it is time to concentrate. Real focus often begins with simple preparation. Focus is also deeply tied to motivation. The brain naturally pays attention to what it perceives as rewarding or important. If you attempt to focus on something meaningless, your mind will wander. But when the task is connected to a meaningful goal, your attention locks in, naturally. This is why people can lose themselves in a book or a game or a project for hours when it matters to them. Your brain craves purpose and direction, and focus is the reward for aligning with purpose. Even distractions themselves can be harnessed once you understand the principles of focus. The wandering mind is not an enemy. It tells you that your brain is seeking novelty, or reward, or relief from stress. Recognizing these signals without immediately responding to them strengthens focus. Think of it as training a wild horse. The more you resist the urge to chase every passing thought, the stronger your ability to remain attentive becomes. Over time, the brain learns that sustained attention is safe, rewarding, and even enjoyable. In practical terms, building focus begins with awareness, then comes deliberate action. Set clear intentions for what you will work on. Remove environmental distractions and create cues that signal attention is required. Use small increments of time at first and gradually increase them as your brain adapts. Reward yourself for completed focus sessions and treat each distraction resisted as a victory. Your mental energy compounds, and what was once difficult becomes natural. Focus is also about balance. The brain cannot operate at peak attention for hours without rest. Nutrition, sleep, hydration, and physical activity are all critical supports for mental clarity. Without them, even the strongest intentions falter. Understanding that focus is a holistic skill and integrating these supports into daily life amplifies your ability to maintain attention effortlessly. The power of focus is transformational. It allows ordinary people to achieve extraordinary results. It makes work feel effortless because the mind is fully engaged. It reduces stress because attention is not fragmented. It increases creativity because the brain is not constantly jumping between tasks. It strengthens resilience because sustained attention fosters mastery and confidence. The people who accomplish great things do not rely solely on luck or genius. They rely on the power of focus trained and honed over time. By beginning to see focus as a skill to be developed, a muscle to be strengthened, a superpower within reach, you lay the foundation for the transformations in the chapters that follow. You will learn not only how to increase attention instantly, but how to sustain it over hours, days, and even years, so that every effort you make compounds into meaningful results. You will discover that the brain is adaptable and responsive, and that with the right strategies, anyone can become a master of focus. Focus is not magic. It is practice, it is discipline, it is alignment with purpose, it is the hidden engine behind success and fulfillment. It is available to anyone willing to commit to understanding it, training it, and protecting it. Every chapter in this book is designed to give you practical tools, real-life examples, and motivational guidance so that you can harness the power of focus and begin experiencing its benefits immediately. The journey begins now, and it starts with a single step toward full attention and complete presence. Chapter 2. Understanding your brain. Your brain is an incredible organ, a universe of neurons firing signals at lightning speed, connecting experiences, thoughts, and emotions into every action you take. Understanding how your brain works is the first step to hacking it for focus. The human mind is not designed for constant distraction. It evolved to pay attention to what matters for survival and reward. But in the modern world, distractions are everywhere, and the brain is constantly pulled in different directions. Knowing this is liberating, because it means focus is not about forcing yourself to concentrate. It is about aligning your brain with its natural strengths and bypassing its vulnerabilities. At the center of focus is the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making, planning, and controlling impulses. This is the control tower of attention. When it is strong and active, you can resist the urge to check, but when it is fatigued or overstimulated by notification stress or multitasking, it loses control and your mind wanders. This is why mental fatigue makes even simple tasks feel difficult, and why creating the right conditions for focus is critical. Dopamine is another key player in attention and motivation. It is the chemical of reward, the signal that tells your brain a task is worth pursuing. When you achieve a small goal or make progress on a meaningful task, dopamine floods your brain, reinforcing the behavior and making it easier to stay focused in the future. Understanding how to trigger dopamine intentionally can turn focus into a habit. For example, breaking a big project into small, manageable steps and celebrating each completion floods the brain with positive signals, motivating continued attention and effort. This is why techniques like the Pomodoro method work, because they create mini victories that keep your mind engaged. Your brain is also highly adaptable, a concept known as neuroplasticity. Every time you train your attention, every time you resist distraction, every time you practice mindfulness, you are literally rewiring your neural pathways. Making focus a habit is not a mystical trick. It is a biological process. Repeated behaviors strengthen connections between neurons, making it easier for your brain to concentrate in the future. People who consistently practice deliberate focus become naturally more attentive because their brains have been shaped to do so. Distractions are not just external, they are internal as well. Your thoughts, worries, and emotional reactions pull attention away from what you are doing. Understanding the difference between productive reflection and mind wandering is crucial. Mindfulness and self-awareness help the brain recognize when it is drifting and gently bring it back to the task at hand. Athletes and performers use this technique constantly when they visualize success and then anchor their attention in the present moment for maximum performance. The brain learns through repetition and feedback, and even a wandering mind can be guided toward focus with consistent practice. Sleep is another non-negotiable factor for mental clarity. The brain consolidates memories and restores energy during deep sleep. Without proper rest, attention suffers, decision-making falters, and focus diminishes. Dramatic improvements in concentration can often be achieved simply by prioritizing sleep. Hydration and nutrition also affect cognitive function. The brain uses a significant portion of your energy, and if you are undernourished or dehydrated, it will struggle to maintain attention. Foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids, antioxidants, and complex carbohydrates support sustained focus, while processed sugars and excessive caffeine may create spikes and crashes that sabotage attention. The brain also responds to novelty and challenge. When you engage in activities that require learning new skills, the brain strengthens connections and becomes more flexible. This is why learning an instrumental language or even practicing mental exercises designed to improve attention can enhance focus over time. The mind thrives on engagement, and when challenged appropriately, it can sustain attention longer and with greater intensity. Understanding your brain also means recognizing that focus is not constant and cannot be forced indefinitely. The human brain works in cycles. Attention waxes and wanes depending on time of day, energy levels, and mental load. Knowing when you are naturally alert and scheduling demanding tasks during those periods, allows you to hack your brain for maximum efficiency. Even short breaks and mental resets can restore attention because the brain cannot operate at peak performance without recovery. By understanding the brain, you see that focus is not a matter of will. It is about alignment with biology, creating conditions that support attention and training neural pathways to strengthen control over impulses. With this knowledge, you can design your environment routines and tasks in ways that naturally draw your brain into a state of concentration. You begin to see distractions not as failures, but as signals to guide adjustments, and you realize that even small, deliberate actions compound into extraordinary improvements in focus. Your brain is a machine capable of amazing performance when understood, respected, and trained. By learning how attention works, how dopamine motivates, how neuroplasticity strengthens, and how rest, nutrition, and challenge influence performance, you gain the tools to hack your own mind. You can create conditions where focus is no longer a struggle, but a natural state where your mental energy flows fully into what matters most. This chapter is the foundation for the practical techniques in the chapters that follow, because without understanding your brain, you cannot truly harness the superpower of focus. Focus is not magic. It is biology, it is structure, it is intentional practice. When you understand your brain, you can stop fighting it and start working with it. You can turn every distraction into an opportunity to strengthen attention, every task into a training ground for concentration, and every day into a step toward mastery of your mind. The journey of hacking your brain begins with understanding it. And with this knowledge, you are ready to move from awareness to action in ways that produce real results immediately. Chapter 3. Eliminate distractions. Focus cannot exist in chaos. Distractions are the enemy of attention and the biggest obstacle between where you are and what you want to achieve. The human brain is wired to notice novelty, danger, and reward. Every beep, notification, pop-up, or incoming message hijacks attention, even if only for a few seconds. Over the course of a day, these small interruptions compound and rob hours of productive focus. The first step in hacking your brain is to understand that you cannot rely solely on willpower to concentrate. You must design your environment and routines to protect your attention. Consider the story of J.K. Rowling, writing the Harry Potter series. She famously wrote in cafes with headphones on, not because she was escaping life, but because she needed to control the sensory. The ambient noise acted as a buffer against more intrusive distractions, while the headphones signaled to her brain that it was time to focus. The environment became a cue for attention. Your surroundings signal your mind more than you realize, and small intentional changes can dramatically improve concentration. Modern life bombards the brain with stimuli, social media feeds, email alerts, group chats, news updates, and even the constant internal chatter of your thoughts all compete for attention. Each of these triggers pulls your mind away from the task at hand, whether it is checking your phone every few minutes, or letting your thoughts drift toward worry, or planning. Your brain divides its attention and performance suffers. Eliminating these distractions is not about removing fun or information. It is about reclaiming mental energy for what truly matters. Start with your physical environment. A cluttered desk leads to a cluttered mind. Every object that is out of place creates an unconscious signal for the brain to process. It does not matter if the item is small, a piece of paper, or an unopened envelope. The brain notices and attention fragments. Clearing your workspace, organizing your tools, and creating a dedicated area for work signals to your brain that focus is expected and supported. This principle applies to digital environments as well. Notifications should be turned off, or limited email and messaging apps scheduled to specific times and unneeded tabs closed. Your digital space is an extension of your brain. If it is cluttered, focus suffers. Distractions are also mental internal noise, such as anxiety over future tasks, past regrets, or random thoughts, can be just as disruptive as external stimuli. The brain naturally searches for novelty or relief, and when it finds it in daydreaming or multitasking, attention drifts. Mindfulness is a powerful tool to train your brain to recognize these internal distractions and gently return focus to the present moment, even 5 minutes. A day of observing thoughts without reacting strengthens the prefrontal cortex and improves self-regulation over time. Another powerful technique is to use intentional cues for focus. Humans respond strongly to patterns and signals. Creating a ritual before starting work primes the brain into a state of concentration. This could be making a cup of tea, opening a notebook, adjusting your chair, or even listening to a specific playlist. These actions become associated with attention over time, and the brain automatically enters a focused state when the cue occurs. Think of it like Pavlovian conditioning for productivity. Time blocking is another method to protect attention. When you schedule specific periods for tasks, you reduce the need for decision-making and minimize interruptions. During these blocks, you commit fully to the task at hand. This is how high performers like Elon Musk manage multiple demanding responsibilities without losing focus. Each task has its time, and each distraction is deferred until later. This clarity reduces mental fatigue and allows for deep work. Even seemingly positive distractions, like multitasking or checking information for work, can sabotage focus. Multitasking is a myth. The brain is not capable of performing two complex tasks simultaneously efficiently. What we call multitasking is actually rapid task switching, which fragments attention and reduces quality of work. Real focus requires monotasking, giving your full attention to one activity at a time, and doing it with intention and energy. Focus can also be strengthened by limiting options. The paradox of choice explains why having too many possibilities reduces attention and increases mental strain. By simplifying decisions about what to work on, what tools to use, and even what to wear, you conserve mental energy for the tasks that truly matter. For example, a successful entrepreneur who wears the same style of clothing every day removes unnecessary decisions from the brain, freeing it to focus on high-value work. Eliminating distractions is not about being rigid or denying yourself. It is about creating a mental space where your brain can operate at its best. It is about designing your environment to work for you rather than against you. It is about recognizing that attention is a limited resource and protecting it fiercely. Every notification avoided, every unnecessary interruption resisted, every mental clutter cleared is a step toward mastering focus. The reality is that distractions are everywhere and will never disappear completely. The world is not going to slow down for you. The difference between those who achieve great results and those who do not is not luck or talent, but the ability to protect attention and channel mental energy deliberately. By taking control of your environment, your routines, and your internal mental state, you can eliminate most distractions and train your brain to sustain deep focus for hours at a time. The lessons of eliminating distractions go beyond productivity. They teach discipline, awareness, and intentionality. They reinforce the idea that you control your mind and your choices. Your brain responds to these signals, and over time resisting distractions becomes natural. The first time you sit down and complete a focus session free of interruptions, you experience the power of concentration. The more you repeat this, the stronger your focus becomes, until it is no longer a challenge, but a state of being. Eliminating distractions is not a one-time effort. It is an ongoing practice, a commitment to structuring your life in a way that supports attention. It is a habit that compounds over time and produces extraordinary results. Those who master this skill find that tasks feel easier, decisions are clearer, creativity flows more freely, and life feels more intentional. The brain was built for focus, but it requires guidance, care, and the courage to remove what pulls it away. Chapter 4. The Role of Mindfulness. Mindfulness is one of the most powerful tools you can use to hack your brain and improve focus. It is the practice of bringing your attention fully into the present moment without judgment. It is not about sitting in silence for hours or emptying your mind of thoughts. It is about observing your mental state, noticing distractions, and gently returning your attention to the task at hand. Mindfulness trains the mind to become aware of when it is drifting and to redirect itself consciously. This skill is at the heart of sustained concentration and mental clarity. Consider the story of Serena Williams on the tennis court. During a match, she is not thinking about past mistakes or future outcomes. She visualizes each serve, focuses on the motion of her body and the trajectory of the ball. She is fully present in the moment. The result is an extraordinary level of performance that seems effortless. This is mindfulness in action. The brain is anchored in the present. It is not pulled by regrets, fears, or random thoughts, and the result is maximum attention and efficiency. The human brain naturally drifts into mind wandering. It is wired to seek novelty and rewards, and this can pull attention away from the task at hand. Even when you are working on something important, your thoughts may jump to unrelated worries or fantasies. This is normal, and not a sign of weakness. Mindfulness teaches you to recognize these moments without reacting to them. The simple act of noticing that your mind has wandered and returning it to focus strengthens the prefrontal cortex and builds mental discipline over time. Mindfulness is also a form of mental training. It is like exercise for your attention muscles. The more you practice noticing distractions and refocusing your mind, the stronger your ability to concentrate becomes. Even a few minutes a day can have profound effects over weeks and months. For example, a student who spends 5 minutes before studying to focus on their breathing and observe their thoughts may find that study sessions become more productive and less mentally exhausting. This is because the brain has been trained to maintain attention in the face of internal and external noise. Mindfulness can be integrated into everyday activities, not just formal meditation. Sitting at a desk and paying full attention to the physical sensations of typing or the sound of pen on paper is mindfulness. Walking while noticing each step and the rhythm of your breath is mindfulness. Eating a meal slowly and observing the flavors and textures is mindfulness. These small practices train the brain to anchor itself in the present moment and strengthen attention even during seemingly mundane tasks. Stress and anxiety are major enemies of focus, and mindfulness directly combats them. When you are stressed, your brain floods with cortisol, which reduces the ability to concentrate and makes thoughts feel scattered. Mindfulness activates the parasympathetic nervous system, calming the body and clearing mental noise. When you are calm and present, attention flows naturally without force. This is why top performers across fields, from athletes to CEOs, incorporate mindfulness into their daily routines. Visualization is another mindfulness technique. It enhances focus. By imagining the successful completion of a task before even starting it, you prime the brain for concentration. You reduce mental friction and increase motivation. Your brain begins to anticipate reward, and attention follows automatically. Athletes rehearse plays in their minds. Artists visualize each stroke before painting, and entrepreneurs map out each step of a launch before acting. The brain responds to mental rehearsal as if it were real experience, and focus improves. Mindfulness also improves the ability to resist temptation and avoid distractions. When you are aware of a wandering thought or the urge to check your phone, you can choose not to act on it. This conscious awareness creates a gap between impulse and action. Strengthening this gap over time allows you to maintain attention for longer periods and reduces mental fatigue. Even the role of mindfulness goes beyond focus. It enhances emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and decision-making. By being fully present, you become more attuned to your own thoughts and feelings and those of others. This awareness allows for more intentional choices and reduces reactive behavior. The brain functions more efficiently when it is not constantly pulled in multiple directions, and the quality of every action improves. In practice, mindfulness can start with a single minute of focused breathing, noticing each inhalation and exhalation, counting your breaths, or observing bodily sensations. brings the mind into the present moment. Over time, the duration can be increased and integrated into tasks of increasing complexity. Studying, working, exercising, or even commuting can all become opportunities to strengthen attention through mindfulness. By making the practice habitual, the brain learns to stay present naturally. The most important lesson about mindfulness is that it is consistent practice that matters, not perfection. The mind will wander countless times during your first attempts, and this is expected. Each time you notice the drift and return to the present, you strengthen your mental capacity and build resilience against distractions. The skill compounds, and eventually sustained focus becomes effortless because the brain has been trained to operate in a state of awareness and presence. Mindfulness is the bridge between knowing how the brain works and being. It allows you to observe internal distractions, manage stress, anchor attention, and improve performance. It is the foundation for all other focus hacks, because without the ability to notice and direct your own mental state, no external technique will be as effective. When you practice mindfulness consistently, you cultivate a mind that is alert yet calm, focused yet flexible, and capable of extraordinary achievement. By integrating mindfulness into your daily life, you are not just improving focus, you are training your brain to operate at its highest potential. You are creating mental habits that support sustained attention, clarity, and intentional action. You are hacking your brain in the most fundamental way possible and laying the groundwork for all the practical strategies that follow in the chapters ahead. Chapter 5: Nutrition and Physical Energy. Your brain cannot focus without fuel. It is a highly active organ consuming more energy than any other part of the body. Yet most people overlook the connection between what they eat, how they move, and their ability to concentrate without proper nutrition, hydration, and physical activity. Even the sharpest strategies for attention will fail. The brain is like a high-performance engine, and it requires the right input to run efficiently. Consider the story of Nikola Tesla. He reportedly survived on minimal sleep and simple meals while working on groundbreaking inventions. Yet his brilliance was supported by careful attention to his physical and mental energy. He understood that his mind could only operate at peak performance when his body was adequately nourished and rested. Nutrition is not just about calories, it is about providing the right building blocks for neurotransmitters and neural function. Omega-3 fatty acids found in fish and nuts support communication between neurons. Antioxidants from fruits and vegetables protect the brain from oxidative stress and improve memory. Complex carbohydrates provide sustained energy while avoiding blood sugar spikes that lead to mental fatigue. Hydration is another critical factor. Your brain is over 70% water. Even mild dehydration can impair focus, short-term memory, and decision-making. Drinking water consistently throughout the day keeps cognitive function sharp. When the brain lacks water, even simple tasks feel exhausting and attention wanes quickly. Many people do not realize that thirst often masquerades as distraction or fatigue. By keeping hydrated, you give your mind the foundation it needs to operate efficiently. Caffeine can be a useful tool when used strategically. It increases alertness and temporarily enhances concentration, but reliance on it can lead to tolerance and crashes that undermine sustained focus. Understanding when and how to use stimulants like caffeine allows you to gain the benefits without sabotaging long-term attention. Your goal is not to rely on external chemicals, but to optimize natural energy levels through consistent routines and healthy habits. Sleep is perhaps the most underestimated factor in focus. Without restorative sleep, the brain cannot consolidate memories, process information, or maintain attention. Chronic sleep deprivation reduces prefrontal cortex activity, making it difficult to resist distractions and control impulses. Top performers prioritize sleep because they understand that productivity is not about working longer, but about working smarter. And with a fully charged brain, even a single night of poor sleep can significantly impair mental performance and make focus almost impossible. Physical activity enhances mental energy and focus more than most people realize. Exercise increases blood flow to the brain, delivering oxygen and nutrients, while stimulating the production of growth factors that support neural function. Regular movement improves mood, reduces stress, and sharpens attention. Even short bursts of activity, like a brisk walk or a few minutes of stretching, can restore alertness and reduce mental fatigue. Many creative professionals schedule exercise strategically to prepare their mind for deep work sessions, because the body and brain are interconnected systems. Focus also thrives on balance. The brain requires cycles of work and rest. Just as muscles grow stronger with recovery, the mind consolidates learning and restores energy during periods of relaxation. Incorporating breaks, short walks, or mindful breathing into your routine allows the brain to maintain high levels of concentration without burnout. Those who ignore the role of physical energy often experience diminishing returns despite their best intentions. Nutrition and energy management are not abstract theories. They are actionable strategies. You can start by planning meals that provide steady energy, avoiding excessive sugar and processed foods. Incorporate protein, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates throughout the day. Keep water nearby and drink consistently. Schedule physical activity to coincide with periods when mental clarity is required, and prioritize sleep as an essential part of your productivity toolkit. These are not sacrifices, but investments in your brain's ability to focus. Even small adjustments in lifestyle can produce immediate improvements in attention. A person who replaces sugary snacks with nuts and fruit may notice that they can work for longer periods without fatigue. Someone who adds a 15-minute walk after lunch often finds that afternoon tasks are easier to complete. These changes compound over time and transform your baseline capacity for focus into something far more powerful than willpower alone could achieve. The reality is that focus is not purely a mental skill. It is deeply physical. Every thought, every decision, every act of concentration is powered by your body. Your mind and body are inseparable, and optimal performance requires both to be in alignment. By treating nutrition, sleep, hydration, and exercise as essential components of attention, you create a foundation for sustained mental energy that allows the brain to operate at its highest potential. When your body is strong and well-fueled, focus becomes effortless tasks that once felt draining become manageable, and clarity flows naturally. Mental resistance diminishes, stress is reduced, and creativity increases. The brain is primed to work at its best, and attention becomes a superpower accessible at any moment. This chapter lays the groundwork for all the strategies that follow, because without proper fuel and energy, even the most powerful focus hacks will struggle to produce results. By integrating nutrition, hydration, sleep, and physical activity into your daily life, you are not just improving focus, you are hacking the most fundamental elements of brain performance. You are building a resilient foundation that supports attention through long hours of work, study, and creativity. You are equipping yourself to harness the full power of your mind and accomplish extraordinary results consistently. Chapter 6. Setting clear goals. Focus thrives on clarity. The human brain is wired to direct energy toward what is meaningful. When your intentions are vague, your attention fragments and effort dissipates. Setting clear goals is one of the most powerful ways to hack your brain and instantly improve focus. Without a defined destination, your mind wanders, seeking novelty or distraction. With a target in sight, the brain channels energy efficiently, and momentum builds naturally. Consider the example of a software developer tasked with building a new application. Without a clear plan, the project feels the mind jumps from design to code to testing and back again, creating stress and reducing productivity. But when the project is broken into specific goals, such as creating the user interface, implementing core features, and conducting tests, each step becomes actionable and attention is guided automatically. The brain responds to this structure by focusing on one task at a time, reducing mental noise and increasing performance. Goal setting also triggers motivation. The brain releases dopamine when it anticipates reward and progress. When goals are vague or abstract, dopamine signals are weak and attention drifts. But when goals are concrete and achievable, the brain perceives each step as a small win, reinforcing focus. For example, a student preparing for an exam benefits from setting clear objectives, such as mastering one chapter at a time, rather than vaguely planning to study for the entire syllabus. This creates repeated moments of achievement, which train the mind to concentrate and persist. Visualization amplifies the power of goal setting. By imagining the completion of a task vividly, your brain begins to anticipate the reward and attention follows automatically. Athletes visualize each movement before performing it, and successful entrepreneurs mentally rehearse product launches before executing them. The brain responds to mental simulation as if the event were real, reinforcing focus and reducing hesitation. Visualization creates a mental roadmap that guides attention through complex tasks and ensures energy is directed efficiently. Writing goals down is another critical step. Physicalizing intentions strengthens commitment and primes the mind to act. A journal or digital planner becomes a tool for focus. Each entry is a signal to the brain that attention is required, and each checkmark reinforces progress. Writing goals also forces specificity. Vague desires, like becoming healthier or more productive, transform into concrete actions, such as exercising for 30 minutes or completing a report by a certain time. The brain thrives on this clarity, and attention becomes easier to sustain. Breaking goals into smaller actionable steps is essential for maintaining focus. Large tasks can overwhelm the mind and trigger procrastination. When goals are divided into manageable increments, each step provides an opportunity for attention to lock in and progress to be visible. The brain interprets small achievements as success, reinforcing motivation and focus. This is why techniques like the Pomodoro method work so effectively, because they create measurable progress in short bursts. Setting priorities further enhances attention. The brain cannot focus on everything simultaneously. Choosing the most important tasks for the day ensures energy is allocated to what truly matters. Deciding what to do first, second, and last reduces decision fatigue and keeps the mind from scattering attention over low-value activities. High performers constantly evaluate and adjust priorities to ensure that focus is aligned with impact rather than urgency. Accountability strengthens the effect of goal setting. When others are aware of your objectives, the brain responds by maintaining attention to meet expectations. Social support and feedback create external cues that reinforce focus. Internal motivation is critical, but external accountability adds an additional layer of structure and discipline, ensuring that attention remains sustained even when intrinsic drive fluctuates. Flexibility is equally important. Focus is not about rigid adherence to plans. It is about guiding attention effectively toward meaningful outcomes. Obstacles and unexpected changes will arise. The brain that understands the balance between clear intention and adaptive response maintains focus even in dynamic environments. Learning to adjust goals without losing sight of the ultimate objective ensures that mental energy is not wasted on frustration or confusion. Ultimately, setting clear goals transforms how the brain operates. Focus becomes a natural response to structure, intention, and meaningful reward. The mind learns to filter distractions, prioritize energy, and maintain sustained attention over long periods. Goals create a roadmap for the brain signaling where effort is required and where it is not. This alignment between intention and action allows focus to be cultivated deliberately rather than left to chance. By integrating clear goals into daily life, you are hacking your brain to work with purpose rather than against itself. You are creating a system where attention is naturally directed, mental energy is preserved, and progress becomes visible and rewarding. Each goal, each small step, each moment of visualization strengthens the neural pathways of focus, until eventually attention is no longer a struggle, but a habit, a state of mind that guides every action toward meaningful achievement. Setting clear goals is the foundation for all other focus strategies. It ensures that your environment, your routines, your mindfulness, and your energy are aligned with what matters most. When your brain knows exactly where to direct its attention, focus becomes effortless and sustainable. You begin to operate at a level where distractions fade. Mental energy is optimized, and the path to achievement is clear and compelling. Chapter 7. Using the power of routines. Routines are the secret engine behind sustained focus. They program your brain to act in ways that align with your goals without requiring constant willpower. Every action you repeat becomes a signal to your mind, creating automatic pathways for attention. The power of a consistent routine is that it transforms focus from something you chase into something that flows naturally throughout your day. Consider the story of Tony Robbins. He wakes at 5 every morning and follows a precise routine of breathing exercises, visualization, physical movement, and goal review. This is not ritual for its own sake. It is a way to prime his mind for peak performance. The routine signals to his brain that attention and energy are required, creating a mental state optimized for action. Even before he begins work, his mind is already focused and prepared to tackle challenges with clarity and intensity. The human brain responds strongly to patterns. Habits are the building blocks of focus. When a specific sequence of actions consistently precedes deep work, the mind learns to enter a state of concentration automatically. For example, a writer who always starts the day with coffee and a short meditation before opening a notebook trains the brain to anticipate focused work. The environmental and behavioral cues become triggers that prime attention without conscious effort. Over time, focus becomes the default state whenever the brain has limited energy for choices. Each unnecessary decision drains attention and weakens self-control. By establishing routines for tasks such as waking, exercising, eating, and working, the brain conserves energy for high-value decisions. This is why successful people often wear similar clothing, schedule meals consistently, and structure their workday around repeating patterns. They eliminate trivial choices so mental energy can be fully devoted to focus and creativity. Morning routines are particularly powerful because they set the tone for the entire day. When the brain is guided into a state of alertness and clarity early in the day, distractions become easier to resist and attention flows naturally. Even simple practices such as reviewing goals, writing a to-do list, or a brief session of mindful breathing create a mental context for focus that carries forward throughout hours of work. Each repetition strengthens the neural pathways of attention and reduces the need for constant conscious effort. Even habits during work sessions can create routine-based. The practice of starting a timer for a dedicated work period or clearing the desk of unrelated materials signals the brain to concentrate. The mind interprets these signals as the start of focused activity, and attention increases automatically. This is the essence of conditioning the brain for deep work and sustaining energy for demanding cognitive tasks. Routines are not rigid. They must adapt to changing circumstances, yet consistency is key. The goal is to create predictable patterns that prime focus while allowing flexibility when needed. For example, a student may always study in the same location and sequence topics in a familiar order, but can adjust the schedule when exams approach or deadlines change. The brain thrives on predictability in cues, but remains adaptable in execution. Even small routines create compounding effects. Over time, the repeated structure reduces stress, increases efficiency, and strengthens the mental muscle of focus. Performing a simple action consistently, like journaling in the morning or reviewing priorities before bed, trains the brain to anticipate periods of attention. This reduces the friction of starting tasks and builds momentum that carries throughout the day. The power of routines extends beyond personal productivity. It shapes identity and reinforces self-discipline. When you consistently act in alignment with your goals, the brain internalizes these behaviors as part of who you are. You become the type of person who naturally focuses, who follows through, and who maintains energy on what matters most. The habit becomes automatic, and focus becomes effortless. Routines also anchor mindfulness and mental clarity into daily life. The brain learns to anticipate moments of reflection, preparation, and action within predictable structures. This reduces stress and mental clutter and frees attention for higher-level tasks. When used strategically, routines become the scaffolding on which peak focus and sustained attention are built. By leveraging the power of routines, you are effectively programming your brain for concentration. You are creating systems that guide attention, conserve mental energy, and reinforce productive habits. Repetition becomes training, structure becomes clarity, and the brain learns to focus naturally, without constant force or struggle. Every routine you establish is an investment in your ability to maintain attention, achieve goals, and operate at your highest potential. The lessons of routines are simple yet profound. Focus is not only about effort, it is about design. By shaping the patterns of your day, your mind learns to anticipate attention, to conserve energy, and to sustain concentration. Even when challenges arise over time, routines transform focus from a skill you must force into a state of being that flows naturally and consistently across all areas of your life. Chapter 8. Leveraging Neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the brain's incredible ability to change, adapt, and rewire itself based on experience. Every thought, action, and habit creates new neural pathways while strengthening existing ones. This means that focus is not a fixed trait. It is a skill that can be cultivated and expanded over time. The more intentionally you practice concentration and attention, the stronger the brain's capacity for sustained focus becomes. Consider the example of someone learning to play a musical instrument. At first, each note requires immense mental effort. The fingers stumble, the mind drifts, and mistakes are frequent. Yet with consistent practice, the brain rewires itself. The motor cortex strengthens connections, the auditory system becomes more precise, and attention naturally locks on to the task. Without any external force, the mind becomes capable of deep focus simply because repeated activity has reshaped. This is the essence of neuroplasticity in action. The same principle applies to studying, coding, writing, or any cognitively demanding task. Every time you resist a distraction and return to focus, your brain reinforces the pathway for attention. This is why habits are so powerful. The brain learns through repetition and feedback. The more you exercise focus deliberately, the easier it becomes to maintain it, even under challenging circumstances. Over time, what was once difficult becomes automatic, and sustained attention feels natural. Neuroplasticity also explains why mindfulness and meditation are effective for focus. They train the brain to observe distractions without reacting, which strengthens the prefrontal cortex and improves self-regulation. The brain literally changes in structure and function. When you practice awareness consistently, areas associated with attention control become more developed and resilient, allowing you to sustain focus longer and resist internal and external interruptions. Learning new skills is another way to leverage neuroplasticity for attention. Training your brain through challenges forces it to adapt and grow. Strong neural connections are formed in areas that control working memory, attention, and problem-solving. The brain thrives on novelty and challenge, and each new skill practiced deliberately becomes a workout for mental concentration. Even activities like learning a language or complex puzzle solving improve overall focus by expanding the brain's capacity to manage multiple pieces of information while maintaining attention on the task. Mental visualization is also a neuroplasticity tool. By imagining tasks in vivid detail before performing them, you prime the brain to execute effectively. Actual performance becomes easier because the pathways for attention and action are pre-activated. Mental rehearsal strengthens focus just as physical practice strengthens motor skills. Athletes, performers, and top professionals all use visualization to train attention and reduce cognitive resistance. Deliberate practice is the key to harnessing neuroplasticity for focus. Random activity does not rewire the brain effectively. It is the repeated, intentional effort with clear goals that strengthens attention circuits. Purposeful practice is designed to challenge your brain while remaining achievable to ensure continued adaptation. Small wins compound into significant improvements in mental endurance, clarity, and sustained focus. The brain is also capable of unlearning distractions through neuroplasticity. Habits that fragment attention, such as constant phone checking or multitasking, can be replaced with intentional focus exercises. By consistently redirecting attention away from low-value stimuli and toward meaningful tasks, the brain gradually reshapes itself to prioritize sustained concentration rather than fragmented activity. This is how attention mastery is built over months and years of deliberate practice. Even short periods of focused work can produce neuroplastic changes if performed consistently. The quality of attention matters more than duration at first. Repeated engagement strengthens neural pathways and eventually allows for longer periods of deep work. The process is cumulative and exponential. The brain adapts to meet the demands you place on it, and the more you challenge it to focus, the stronger it becomes. Neuroplasticity also teaches patience and persistence. Focus is not instant for beginners. The brain resists new patterns initially, and distractions will seem overwhelming at first. Consistent effort, even when difficult, gradually reshapes attention circuits, making focus easier and more natural. With each repetition, your brain adapts, strengthens, and primes itself for sustained concentration in future sessions. By leveraging neuroplasticity, you understand that focus is not a fixed trait. It is a skill you can train like a muscle. Every choice to resist distraction, every period of deliberate attention, every practice session rewires your brain to support concentration over time. Focus becomes less about force and more about design, repetition, and habit. Each day of intentional practice compounds, creating a mind that is sharper, more resilient, and capable of extraordinary achievement. Neuroplasticity transforms the way you approach focus. It shifts the perspective from frustration over wandering thoughts to opportunity for growth. It allows you to see each distraction resisted, each period of attention maintained, and each mental exercise completed as a training session that strengthens your brain and builds lasting capability. The mind is adaptable, malleable, and capable of remarkable performance when guided deliberately. The power of neuroplasticity is that it makes focus a skill accessible to anyone, regardless of their starting point. By understanding the brain's ability to change, and by applying consistent, purposeful practice, you can increase attention, resist distractions, and maintain clarity over long periods of work and life. Every action taken to train focus is an investment in the structure and function of your brain that compounds over time until sustained concentration becomes effortless and natural. Chapter 9. Mental Techniques for Instant Focus. Focus is not always a long-term project. Sometimes you need it instantly, in moments when decisions matter, deadlines loom, or creativity is required. The brain can be trained to enter a state of concentrated attention quickly if you learn to use specific mental techniques. These techniques are tools that prime the mind to eliminate distraction, amplify clarity, and harness mental energy whenever needed. Visualization is one of the most powerful of these tools. By imagining a task completed in vivid detail, before even beginning, you prime the brain to perform effectively. Mental rehearsal activates the same neural pathways that are used during actual execution. When an athlete visualizes a perfect serve, or a musician imagines a flawless performance, the brain begins to anticipate the reward and focus locks in naturally. You can use the same principle for studying, writing, coding, or any demanding task. Visualize the process step by step, the desired outcome, and the feeling of completion. Your brain begins to align attention with action, and resistance diminishes. Deep breathing is another technique that instantly improves focus. It regulates the autonomic nervous system, calming stress responses, and increasing oxygen delivery to the brain. When you feel distracted or anxious, a few deep, rhythmic breaths shift the mind from a reactive state to a receptive state. The brain becomes capable of sustained attention, mental clarity improves, and thoughts that were once scattered settle into order. Many top performers use controlled breathing before presentations, competitions, or critical work sessions to prime focus and reduce internal noise. Chunking is a cognitive technique that transforms overwhelming tasks into manageable units. The brain struggles with large amounts of information simultaneously, but can maintain focus effectively when content is broken into meaningful patterns. When memorizing a speech, learning a new skill, or writing a report, divide the task into small segments and treat each as a separate goal. The mind naturally attends to one chunk at a time, reducing cognitive overload and increasing retention. This approach also provides frequent micro-wins that trigger dopamine and reinforce concentration. Anchoring attention through sensory cues is another instant hack. The brain responds strongly to patterns and associations. You can create rituals that signal focus, such as a specific playlist, a lighting adjustment, or even a particular posture. When these cues are repeated consistently, the brain automatically enters a state of heightened concentration whenever they are present. This is why environments and routines play such a strong role in productivity. They create instant triggers for attention without conscious effort. Mindfulness techniques can be used on the spot to regain focus. The simple act of noticing that your mind has wandered and gently bringing it back to the present task strengthens concentration immediately. Each recognition of distraction, followed by refocusing, reinforces attention pathways and reduces the frequency and intensity of future distractions. Over time, this creates a mental reflex where focus returns faster and more naturally every time the brain drifts. The 2-minute rule is another practical mental hack for instant focus. If a task can be completed in 2 minutes, do it immediately. This eliminates clutter from the mind and reduces mental friction that would otherwise compete for attention. The brain experiences a sense of accomplishment and readiness, which primes it for larger or more complex tasks. The simple act of taking action quickly prevents procrastination and enhances momentum. Mental contrasting is a technique where you combine visualization with realistic acknowledgement of obstacles. Imagine the successful completion of your goal and then identify potential challenges that could arise. During this process, the brain prepares strategies for action and attention is sharpened because it anticipates both reward and difficulty. Mental energy is allocated efficiently, and focus becomes sustained rather than sporadic. Even posture and physical state can prime instant focus. The brain receives constant feedback from the body. Slouching, tension, or fatigue signals distraction or disengagement. Sitting upright, taking a deep breath, and opening the chest signals alertness and readiness. Your body becomes a cue for mental concentration and primes neural pathways for attention without conscious thought. The most important aspect of mental techniques is deliberate practice. You must apply them consistently to train the brain to respond automatically in moments that require focus. The first few attempts may feel awkward or ineffective, but repetition strengthens neural pathways and builds mental reflexes. Over time, these techniques allow focus to be summoned on demand without struggle or delay. By integrating visualization, deep breathing, chunking, sensory cues, mindfulness, quick action, mental contrasting, and posture, you equip your mind with a toolbox for instant focus. These techniques transform the brain from reactive to proactive, allowing attention to be summoned whenever it is needed. They reinforce the brain's capacity for sustained concentration and create a mental state in which distraction is minimized and energy is maximized. Mastering mental techniques for instant focus bridges the gap between long-term training and immediate performance. The brain becomes capable of entering peak attention states at will. The result is clarity, efficiency, and a sense of control over your mental energy. You are no longer at the mercy of distraction or fatigue. Instead, focus becomes a tool you can deploy strategically to achieve goals, complete tasks, and operate at your highest potential whenever required. Chapter 10. Overcoming mental fatigue. Even the sharpest mind tires. The human brain is a high-performance machine, but it is not invincible. Every hour of sustained attention consumes energy, and after a certain point, mental fatigue sets in. This fatigue manifests as wandering thoughts, slowed decision-making, irritability, and reduced ability to resist distractions. Understanding mental fatigue and learning to manage it is critical to hacking your brain for sustained focus. Mental fatigue is not a sign of weakness. It is a natural signal that the brain has been overworked and requires rest. Like a muscle that grows stronger with recovery, the mind consolidates information, restores energy, and strengthens neural pathways when given time to recover. Ignoring fatigue leads to mistakes, wasted energy, and burnout. Top performers understand this principle and schedule their work around energy cycles rather than forcing attention endlessly. One of the most effective ways to overcome mental fatigue is to use strategic breaks. Short breaks during periods of intensive work allow the prefrontal cortex to recover and attention to reset. Techniques like the Pomodoro method, where work is broken into 25-minute intervals followed by 5-minute breaks, leverage this principle. The brain performs best when attention is concentrated in focused bursts, rather than long, unbroken periods of strain. Physical activity is another powerful antidote to mental fatigue. Even brief movement like stretching, walking, or light exercise increases blood flow to the brain, delivering oxygen and nutrients that restore cognitive function. Exercise also releases endorphins and reduces stress, enhancing alertness and clarity. Fatigue is not purely mental, it is physical, and optimizing the body restores the energy necessary for sustained attention. Sleep is non-negotiable for managing mental fatigue. Chronic sleep deprivation reduces the brain's ability to focus and process information effectively. Even one night of insufficient rest diminishes concentration, working memory, and decision-making capabilities. Prioritizing restorative sleep is one of the fastest ways to combat mental exhaustion and maximize focus. Nutrition and hydration also influence energy levels and the ability to resist fatigue. Foods with complex carbohydrates, protein, and healthy fats provide steady energy while avoiding spikes and crashes in blood sugar. Simple sugars, processed foods, and excessive caffeine can create temporary boosts followed by rapid mental crashes. Learning to fuel the brain consistently throughout the day prevents fatigue from undermining focus. Mental techniques such as mindfulness and deep breathing also counteract fatigue by calming stress responses and reducing cognitive load. When the brain is overwhelmed by scattered thoughts or anxiety, attention deteriorates. Mindfulness practices restore calm, anchor the mind in the present, and allow mental energy to be redirected to the task at hand. Small moments of awareness throughout the day cumulatively reduce fatigue and sustain focus. Task rotation is another strategy to manage energy effectively. Switching between mentally demanding and less intensive activities allows the brain to recover while still remaining productive. Alternating tasks prevents prolonged strain on specific neural circuits and keeps attention sharp over longer periods. For example, a writer may alternate between creative brainstorming and routine editing to maintain energy without complete mental depletion. Recognizing the signs of fatigue is crucial. Self-awareness allows you to take preemptive action before attention collapses. Constant yawning, irritability, wandering thoughts, and errors signal that the brain taking breaks, adjusting tasks, or using recovery techniques prevents wasted effort and restores focus more effectively than pushing through exhaustion. Even mental visualization and positive reinforcement can combat fatigue. By imagining completion of tasks and celebrating small victories, the brain receives motivational signals that offset exhaustion. Attention is not just a resource to be consumed. It is a skill to be reinforced through strategic practice and recovery. The combination of deliberate rest, physical activity, proper nutrition, and mental techniques maintains energy for sustained concentration. Understanding mental fatigue also teaches patience and planning. The brain has natural cycles of alertness and productivity throughout the day. By identifying peak periods of energy and aligning demanding work with those windows, you maximize attention and minimize wasted effort. Less intensive tasks can be scheduled during lower energy periods, and breaks can be strategically placed to restore focus. By learning to manage mental fatigue, you are hacking your brain to sustain attention beyond natural limits without forcing or straining. It is not about endless effort. It is about strategic energy management, intentional rest, and alignment of tasks with cognitive capacity. Over time, the brain adapts to these cycles, and mental energy becomes predictable, reliable, and easier to direct toward meaningful work. Overcoming mental fatigue transforms focus from a short-lived effort into a sustainable state. It ensures that attention can be maintained over hours, days, and weeks without collapse. It reduces stress, improves decision-making, and enhances productivity. Understanding the limits of your mind and respecting its need for recovery allows you to operate at peak performance consistently and sustainably. When you integrate recovery, nutrition, sleep, movement, mindfulness, and task management into your daily life, mental fatigue ceases to be an obstacle and becomes a signal guiding smarter attention. You are no longer a slave to exhaustion, but a master of your energy. Your brain is primed to maintain focus naturally and efficiently, and the journey toward sustained attention becomes achievable and empowering. Conclusion. Focus is not a fleeting skill. It is a trainable ability, a superpower hidden within your brain, waiting to be unlocked. The journey through this book has revealed that attention is shaped by environment, habits, routines, nutrition, sleep, mindfulness. It is not about willpower alone, but about understanding how your mind works and aligning every choice to support clarity and concentration. The human brain is remarkably adaptable. Through neuroplasticity, every period of deliberate focus, every distraction resisted, and every mental technique practiced strengthens the neural pathways that control attention. This means that anyone at any stage of life can improve focus with consistent effort. You are not bound by your past habits or current distractions. You have the capacity to rewire your brain and direct your mental energy toward what truly matters. You have learned that focus begins with understanding your brain, recognizing its vulnerabilities, and leveraging its strengths. You have explored strategies to eliminate distractions, create supportive routines, fuel your mind with proper nutrition, manage energy and fatigue, and use mental techniques to summon attention instantly. Every chapter has provided tools to transform focus from a struggle into a natural state that flows effortlessly when applied intentionally. Goal setting and visualization anchor the mind to meaningful outcomes. Breaking tasks into manageable steps creates micro-wins that trigger motivation and sustain attention routines. Program the brain to anticipate focused work, while mindfulness trains the mind to recognize distraction and return to the present moment. Nutrition, sleep, hydration, and movement provide the energy necessary for sustained performance. Mental techniques and recovery strategies ensure that focus is available whenever required. These practices combined create a comprehensive system for mastering attention. The power of focus extends beyond productivity. It enhances creativity, reduces stress, strengthens decision-making, and elevates the quality of every action you take. It allows you to achieve extraordinary results with clarity and purpose. It transforms ordinary tasks into moments of mastery and ordinary days into steps toward your greatest goals. Focus is not a rare gift reserved for the talented. It is a skill accessible to anyone willing to understand, train, and protect it. The final lesson is that focus is a choice. You can decide moment by moment where your attention goes. You can create conditions, habits, and strategies that guide your mind rather than letting it be pulled by distractions. You can commit to the practices in this book and watch your brain adapt, attention sharpen, and product. The journey does not end here. Each day is an opportunity to strengthen your focus, expand your mental capacity, and live fully present in your life. Your brain is a powerful ally, and your attention is its most precious resource. By mastering focus, you reclaim control over your thoughts, your energy, and your outcomes. You transform potential into achievement and intention into reality. The path to focus begins with understanding and is maintained through practice. Discipline, awareness, and deliberate action become your companions, and the life you envision becomes possible. Focus is not a destination. It is a continual practice, a way of living that allows you to harness your mind, achieve your goals, and experience life with clarity and purpose. The tools are in your hands, the power is in your brain. The choice is yours. Every moment spent directing your attention deliberately strengthens your capacity to focus, creates momentum toward your goals, and unlocks the extraordinary potential within you. The journey to mastering focus begins now, and it continues with every decision you make. Every distraction resisted, every period of attention maintained, every habit aligned with your goals, builds the mind of someone who can achieve, create, and thrive in a world full of noise. The brain is yours to guide, attention is yours to command, and life is yours to shape with the clarity and power that focus provides. The end.